Sorry for that long title.
It's better.
That's better, okay. Hello everyone, but my English name is Hussein Haron. I am an immigration officer in the Philippines, so I will be discussing about human trafficking in a perspective of a government official as an immigration officer also. So to give you an objective of our presentation, first it is about understanding the human trafficking situation in the Philippines and recognize the government's effort to combat the trafficking. Second is the assessment of legal and institutional gaps to assess the strengths and limitations of the Philippines in its legal framework, mechanism, and challenges. And lastly, to identify actionable opportunities for effective collaboration between the Philippines and Taiwan to address transnational and trafficking risks. So the outline of my presentation is first the introduction, legal framework, current issues and dilemmas, opportunities, strategies between the Philippines and Taiwan, recommendation, and conclusion. So first is an introduction. Human trafficking is recognized as a transnational crime. Like any other countries, the Philippines can be a source, a transit, or an origin of human trafficking, or the source of trafficking victims. And usually, when we say in the Philippines, human trafficking is usually associated with workers or sexual trafficking. But due to digital connectivity and globalization, it now become an online sexual exploitation, especially for children, which also include online recruitment, forced participation in cybercrime hubs, and it now transitioned to a digitally facilitated transnational crime enterprises. So as a significant player in the labor, Philippines is one of the major countries who sends their citizens to other countries to have more opportunities. And these people, we call the Overseas Filipino Workers, are more susceptible to trafficking, abuse, smuggling, and other crimes. So as the Philippines and Taiwan have major connectivity when it comes to migration as well as migrant workers and tourism, it is vital that we have a collaboration to ensure that each citizen of each country are protected and those perpetrators for human trafficking are punished. So currently there are 4 legal frameworks or laws being implemented in the Philippines to protect human trafficking victims and punishes the perpetrators. The first one is the Anti-trafficking in Persons Act of 2003. This is the first law implemented by the legislative department to combat trafficking. Then due to progress and involvement of these crimes, it amended in 2012, which expanded to anti-trafficking persons. It gives more powers to the government and protects the victims. Then in recent years, in 2022, they amended it again and expanded the Anti-trafficking Persons Act, which gives the victims more protection, more power to the local government unit, and involve the non-government organization. And lastly, the Anti-online Sexual Abuse or Exploitation of Children and Anti-Child Sexual Abuse or Exploitation Materials Act of 2022. This is in response to the increased crimes being done to online sexual exploitation, primarily children and those who are susceptible for trafficking. So the government, based on these laws, the government created an interagency, which is the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, or IACAT. This is a government agency with different organizations and agencies to combat human trafficking. They were given the powers, duties, and responsibilities necessary to combat trafficking and to provide measures for the protection of the victims. So this strategy is in line with the with the responsibility and the commitment of the Philippine government in the UN Palermo Protocol and the ASEAN Convention Against Trafficking in Persons, especially women and children. The IACAT is a multi-agency organization. It is composed of 11 government agencies and 3 non-governmental agencies, non-government organizations. But as time goes by, more non-government organizations are being invited to join the task force to address the evolving crime of trafficking. So in 2015, June 15, 2015, the IACAT or the Council created a guideline, which is the DOJ Memorandum Circular No. 36, which is the revised guidelines on departure formalities for international bound passengers. So this gives the immigration officers the power to defer or to offload passengers traveling to other countries that are risk for trafficking. So the challenges of this Memorandum Circular, number 1 is the passenger invoking the right to travel. So under the Philippine Constitution, the citizens are given the right to travel. But with the Memorandum Circular 36, it also gives the government to defer or to stop a victim or a susceptible victim going outside the country. So a lot of media coverage and social media uproar were received by the government, especially the Bureau of Immigration, in implementing this measure. Second is the unclear and inconsistent implementation. So a lot of the there were reports that passengers were being told with different rules that are not in line or vague based on the Memorandum Circular No. 36. Profiling and discrimination. Those sectors who are low income or marginalized or indigent are being more prone to be deferred to go outside the country. So an immigration officer can stop a Filipino traveler if they see that the passenger is indigent, a low-income earner, or doesn't have any financial capacity to travel. Fourth is the flight delays and extended processing time. Under the Memorandum Circular 36, only 10 minutes is required or allotted for an immigration officer to assess if the passenger can leave the country or not. But report says that it took more than 10 minutes before they can give the final decision to allow or to defer the passenger. Last is the abuse of authority and public perception. The passengers, most of the complaints received by the agency, the Bureau of Immigration, reflects how the government officers or the immigration officers conduct their interview with allegation of abuse of authority, intimidation, and sometimes bribery or corruption. The current issues and dilemmas of the Philippines. So the Philippines is still recognized internationally for its strong anti-trafficking policy. It maintained Tier 1 status based on the 2025 USTI Trafficking Persons Report for 10 consecutive years. So with the efforts of the Philippines in combating trafficking, they still maintain the Tier 1 status based on the US report. However, these protections or these measures are still vulnerable, they are still inconsistent. The programs, the measures of the government are still inconsistent when it comes to implementing these measures, and there are still gaps and policy for the enforcement of those measures. Involving one of the current dilemma of the Philippines is the evolving from conventional trafficking. So as I've said before, it doesn't only now contain human trafficking in sexual or working, it now evolved to online exploitation or cyber fraud, which links between trafficking and digital crime. So in 2016, the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGO, was booming from 2016 to 2022, which exposed transnational crime patterns like private security, confinement passport, seizure, and coercion. So this POGO or these companies invites foreigners, Filipino citizens, to be part of their company, but they are forced to work. There was a forced labor, confusion. At the same time, they are So they are these bogus clubs are being used as a cybercrime to defraud other other people. At the same time, recruit and force people to work on a tight working hours. Second is the legislative and policy development. So the law of the Philippines is still amending from time to time, and it adapts to the current and trends of this transnational crime. Third is the airport and security right dilemma. So in 2015, there was the implementation of the Memorandum Circular 36, but now in 2023, there was a revision, but the revision was deferred due to uproar also of the public. At the same time, it was deferred for implementation until further notice. Next is the digitalization and exploitation. So according to the IGN, the Philippines is still the epicenter for online sexual exploitation, especially for children. And lastly is the corruption, vulnerabilities, and regularity compliance. So these crimes are being fed by local government, being involved by the local government unit, especially they are the ones who are responsible to maintain the peace and order in their community. Restructuring and process optimization. So the Philippine government before focuses on Filipinos traveling abroad, but now they restructure their focus on raiding scam hubs or pogo centers to rescue and to prevent them for committing other crimes.
1 minute.
Sorry. Oh, I have to go to the home minute.
You can just quickly go through your.
Okay. So the Philippines is as I said, the Philippines is still in the Tier 1 status based on the TIP report. These are the opportunities that we have developed for the Philippines. First is to establish and implement existing MOUs. So there are lots of MOUs and protocols being established with the Philippines and the Taiwan. So we have to push through for their implementation and the measures that need to be dated. Second is the strengthened community and victim-centered reporting network, develop joint training and capacity building programs, improve recruitment and enforce fair hiring practices, create a standardized data protocols and secure cross-border cases, and build an efficient referral pathways with the NGOs and international agencies. So just to give a conclusion, so this identified highlighted pressure set by the freedom of movement. So the issue does not lie in the policy absence, but in the gap between planning and implementation. If the government really wants or serious about its program to combat trafficking, they have to be consistent. At the same time, we should also have a program to be consistent. So bilateral cooperation is an important between Taiwan, Philippines and Taiwan, since they are interconnected with migrant workers and tourism. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. It's not just the title, it is very long. The length of this article is very long as well. It's around 37 pages, including references. Okay, I'll be quicker about my comments. As you can see from our presentation, this paper aims to discuss an important issue of human trafficking with overseas Filipino workers as the main case. And it argues that while there are institutional reforms by the Philippine government to strengthen its anti-trafficking framework, persistent implementation dilemmas reveal that domestic law measures alone are insufficient to address an increasingly transnational nature of human trafficking. Thus, addressing trafficking requires not only the refinement of internal mechanisms but also enhanced regional and bilateral collaboration, and that is the reason I believe why why Zhihao would like to talk about the collaboration between Taiwan and the Philippines, right? Given the close connection between the two in terms of human trafficking as well as migrant workers. Right? Okay, so this paper focuses on the collaboration between the two countries as they share, for example, structured interconnected migration pathway on referral system and others. Okay. My first comment is that I think as the comment I made on the previous paper, I think structure of adjustment or restructuring is strongly suggested. Instead of discussing or introducing relevant acts, laws, and regulations, it would be more helpful to discuss or review the major difficulties and the dilemmas or challenges facing officers or actors who are on the front line dealing with human trafficking. I mean, the first part of your main content, I would suggest you to write about this. And this is followed by a discussion of the existing acts, laws, and regulations that are relevant or crucial for dealing with human trafficking. This way, it would help readers to understand why some or most of the existing measures actually are not effective or insufficient for dealing with human trafficking. Because, I mean, as the kind of structure of your paper now, I think it's kind of aims to provide a rather general, although very comprehensive discussion about all these issues. But it would be very difficult for readers to kind of find the main focus of your discussion. And the related comment is that it would be better to make the focus of your discussion of all the problems or challenges or difficulties in dealing with human trafficking or human rights clearer by, for example, highlighting the role played by the development of digital technology. And the reason why I'm making this comment is mainly because I assume your paper will not be the first one or the only one which kind of aims to provide a comprehensive or general introduction and discussion of this issue, right? Is it the first one? The only one? Have you done any literature review in order to know whether your research actually is kind of the first one or the only one? Then you haven't done that, right? That is very important. Otherwise, we would not be able to establish the contribution and the value of our research. If what you are doing is actually what has been done quite extensive, then what is the point for us to just repeat that has been done? Okay? So, okay, let's assume that there actually have quite a lot of studies on this issue already regarding the problems or challenges or dilemmas facing the Philippines measures in dealing with human trafficking. Then my suggestion would be that you probably can think about whether you should focus your research on, for example, the development of digital technology, okay? How it impacts on, say, human trafficking, and how the government can do, or what should they do in order to prevent the increase of human trafficking connected to digital technology from increasing, okay? That is, I think that is normally what we will do when we are thinking about what our research should focus on, or when we are searching for a good research topic. And next point is about the title. I have said already, it's far too long, but apart from that, I think the way you formulated your title is a little bit unusual from those titles of most either thesis or conference or journal papers. I mean, the whole title, in my personal view, is a bit strange or unusual from the perspective of academic work. Normally, we would incorporate the subtitle in this context into the main title, making a properly integrated title. Because if you read the title again, I'm sure you will understand what I'm talking about, because the subtitle starts with "and discussing something," right? If I were you, I would try to kind of incorporate the bilateral collaboration or cooperation of Taiwan and the Philippines into your main title, if that is also the main purpose for you to write this thesis as well. Okay. Okay, I have mentioned shopping list already, right? Try to avoid that. Okay, when you have another chance to write another piece of academic paper. 好，那我的评论先到这边结束啊。You have your time and you can think about the comments and try to share your thoughts later on during the after the Q&A session. Alright. 好，那第3篇文。